Hi, this is Leonard from Cosmic Sound and welcome to the latest video in our series of tutorial videos. Today we're coming to you from the Cosmic DJ department and we're going to be showing you some things that you're going to need to know when you buy your new set of decks. It's going to be pretty basic. We're going to show you how to hook up a set of CD players to your mixer, how to set up a set of turntables to your mixer, and how to wire that all into your PA system and set your levels correctly. So let's not waste any time, let's get straight into it. So first thing, let's take a look at the gear that we're going to be using. So we've got a top of the line system here from Pioneer, so we're going to be using two of the CDJ 2000 Nexus players and the Pioneer DJM 900 Nexus mixer. So a couple of things to note with this. It's a little bit different to the average system because these CD players have different ways they can be connected. So we can either use analog or digital, but for most of you, you're going to have analog connections, so that's what I'm going to use today. So first of all, let's hook up some audio leads. So your players will all come with a couple of these. These are your basic RCA leads with a left and right connection. So let's grab one of the players. And you'll see here I've got the digital connection, if I was to use that, and here is the analog connection. So I'm going to whack these into the corresponding coloured ports, like that. And now let's do the second one. So here we are again, white goes left, red goes right. And now all we need to do is connect them to the mixer. So when I lift the mixer up, you'll see that we've actually got heaps of different options on this mixer. So we've got 4 channels here, and we can use either CDs, other line level signals, or turntables in here, and you'll see the phono labeled, which is where the turntables will go. I'm just going to use the CD inputs here because that's exactly what we're using. So I'm going to grab my cable. And now another way to think about this as well, we've got a 4-channel mixer. We're only going to be using 2 channels, so it makes sense to use your 2 central channels. Of course you can use 1 and 2 if you want, but I'm going to use 2 and 3 for this. So I'm going to go into the CD line port on channel 2 with my cable, so we're going left and right. I'm going to grab my second one here, and the same thing here, we've got CD line. You can just as easily plug this into the line slot as well, but I'm going to use the CD one because we're using CD players. So we're going to go left and right, and it's really that simple to connect your audio cables. Next up, what we're going to do is connect the power cables. So I like to do this second, just so that you know you've got all your audio hooked up before you power anything. So I've got some normal kettle cords here, which is what we use for all this gear. All 3 of these will take the same type of cable. So again, what we're going to do, we'll just have a look here. Here's the power cable slot. In it goes. So we've got one for the mixer. And finally one for the second player. In that goes. So I've just plugged these all into mains power, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect the cables to the speakers. So you'll see behind me here I'm using a pair of the KRK Rocket 10.3 speakers. They're a relatively new one from KRK, and they pack a lot of punch, so that's what we're using them today. So let's get some audio leads first of all. So because of the mixer we're using, I'll just show you we've got some options on here. So there's actually heaps and heaps of outputs on here. We've got 2 master slots right here, so that's your main master, master 1. We've got master 2. We've got record out, which is really good if you want to actually run into a field recorder or out to a computer or some other way of recording your set. We've also got booth, which is what you'd use for your monitor speakers for yourself. So today I'm just going to plug in a set of master speakers. I'm sure the others are all self-explanatory. So because we've got XLR ports here, I'm going to use XLR cables, and we'll also find the same ports on the back of the speaker. So first of all, let's run one for the left speaker. Goes in like so. Usually you actually feel these click in. And we'll run one for the right speaker. So we're going to plug that into the right output. And again, you'll feel that click in, so you know it's done. All right, let's put the mixer back down. All right, so now I'm going to run these cables to the speaker. And I should mention here as well, if you're running long lengths of cable, make sure that they're taped down across the floor and the length of cable is gathered somewhere safe, because you don't want anyone to trip over, and you especially don't want your speakers to be dragged over. So make sure you take care with that. Now I'm going to go and do the right speaker. So that's now connected. So the next step is to turn all the gear on and get the levels set, and this is where a lot of people go wrong. So I'm going to show you the right way to do this from the outset. So we're going to leave the speakers turned off for now, and we're just going to turn on the DJ gear. So we need the mixer and the 2 CD players. So they're all powered up and ready to go. The next thing we need to do is make sure we've got the right input selected. So you remember I showed you all the inputs on the back of the mixer before. Now we're going to need to turn these knobs here to the right input. At the moment they're all set to digital, which would be the digital inputs at the back here, but we're not using those, we're using the CD line input. So we're going to set channels 2 and 3, which is where I plug them in, to CD line, like so. So now we need to actually get some sound going through the mixer. Okay, so I'm going to use a USB memory stick for my music. I'm not going to put any discs in there. So what that means, because I'm only using one memory stick, I'm going to need to connect the link cable, which connects these 2 players together and allows me to draw music from one memory stick. So this is just a basic network cable that comes with these particular units. If you're using other brands of CD player, you may not have this option, but just in case you do, I'm going to show you how this works. So on the back of the player here, you'll see a link port. And I'm going to plug the network cable in there.
Available guitar staff, please attend reception. Thank you.
And then the same on the other player. See the link port here. We'll connect the other end of that cable. Okay, so now I'm going to connect the memory stick up. So I'm just going to put it in the left-hand player. So the USB ports are located here. And there it goes. So I just set the player to USB and we'll just wait for it to detect. And there we go, we've got a couple of tracks here. And now I'm just going to set the link, which finds exactly the same folder, and I've got the same tracks there. So let's load 2 of the same track. Okay, so the track's now playing, but I'm not seeing any levels yet because I've got the gain still turned down. So what I'm going to do is turn the gain up slowly. And we'll start seeing some level. Now, of course, I can't really trust this yet because the track's still in its introduction. So what I'm going to do is just scan forward a bit. And you'll see instantly I've got way too much level. You don't want to be hitting any more than about 2 of these orange. You certainly don't want to be hitting the reds right up the top. You'll see if I go too high we get red, and that's overloading. We don't want that at all. So aim for about the 0 mark, and if you have to go over that, no more than 1 or 2 of those orange lines. That's about right now. So if I get the second track going, I'm going to do the same thing. We'll scan into the middle. We'll get that playing. And now I'm going to turn up the gain. And this, of course, will be exactly the same as the other channel because we're playing the same track. If we want to just do another example, what we can do is stop this and get a different track. There we go, and we'll see, like, if the tracks have been mastered properly, the levels will often be relatively similar. So we can see with this second track, we're still doing pretty well on the levels there. So we'll get both of those playing. We can see here, we've got some great levels happening. All right, so now we're going to try and get some level going to the master here. So to do that, I've first of all got to bring the faders up. So they go right up to the top, right up to number 10. Don't set them sort of halfway. We need them to be right full level. Now the crossfader is another thing here. So basically a problem can ensue if I had the crossfader set here. So if I had that set to A, for example, and I had the crossfader over to B side, I'm not going to hear anything. So just to get these levels right, I'm going to set both of these channels through to through, which means the crossfader is not doing anything at all. So I've got the channels up full, I've got my gain set, and now I'm going to bring up my master level. So we'll do this again quite slowly, and we want to be aiming for that 0 point again. So the same thing applies to when we set the channel levels. What we don't want to see is this cranked right up and peaking up to 10 like that, or even worse, overloading. And the other thing we don't want to see at all is 2 little bars down here with no extra level. And the reason we don't want that is because your dynamic range is essentially crushed when you have your levels down that low. So we want to have the maximum possible range we can without overloading the mixer and therefore giving you terrible sound through your PA. So there we go, we're going to be, well, let's just hit 0, we'll maybe go to just 1, like so. So we've just got the perfect amount of level coming through the mixer now. Alright, so now we've got the levels on our mixer sorted perfectly. Now we're going to turn the speakers on and set the levels on them. So the first thing you want to do is turn the level on your speakers right down to 0. We don't want to hear anything yet. I'm going to stop these tracks and I'm going to go and turn the speakers on now. Alright, so everything's turned right down to 0. We'll just double check again. Right down, and we're going to get 1 track playing. So you probably hear some level come through the speakers to start with, and I'm going to jump into the middle of the track again just so I know I've got the right amount of level. So I'm already seeing here my master's a little bit low now, so we're just going to give that a little bit extra. And then what you want to do is turn the speakers up to the level that you're going to want to hear them at maximum volume. So we're going to crank them up a bit now. And I'm going to set the second one to the same volume. So now I've got the level set on the speakers. I can pull my volume down and I can move this however I want. So if I want it a bit quieter, I just need to turn my master down. Now what we've guaranteed is I've got full dynamic range available to me on the mixer. I'm not going to blow my speakers. So in this example, because we're using these speakers, what we can find is if we need a little bit more volume as the room fills up that you're playing in, we can just go and turn the level up on the speakers. If you're playing in a larger room with a proper PA, such as in a nightclub, all you need to do is go and talk to the engineer that's running the sound system and just tell them to give you a little bit more level from the desk. So finally what we're going to do is connect a booth speaker to this setup. So just to recap, we've already got our 2 front of house speakers, which if you're in a nightclub would be equivalent of your PA system that's set up there. And now what we're going to do is set up some booth speakers, which are going to be monitor speakers for you to actually monitor back what you're playing. So I've got a speaker over here I've prepared. And for this example, we're just going to be using a KRK Rocket 5. And of course, you could use a pair of speakers if you want to. We're just going to use one for the purpose of this demonstration. So I have a cable here, and it's going to be a different cable this time because what you'll notice on the mixer, we have got 2 1/4-inch jack outputs for booth. So we're going to need to use a 1/4-inch jack to XLR cable to get into this speaker, which I have here. So we've got 1/4-inch jack on one end. This is a balance cable as well, TRS, and we're running to a male XLR, which is what the speaker's going to need. So let's plug in one end to the mixer. Of course, if you were using 2, you'd run into left and right. I'm just going to run out of the left because I've only got 1 speaker connected. And we'll run this into the back of the speaker here, and we're going to do the same thing again. We'll just turn the level of the speaker down a bit, turn that on. I've got the booth monitor level on the mixer turned right down.
When are they coming back? They're pretty good.
I'll just give this a bit. We actually can't see any levels on this, so I'm just going to do this arbitrarily, and I'm going to turn up some level of this speaker.
Oh, so that's one up there. So what are they?
If I turn down the master here, you hear I've now got some level coming out of this speaker. And the same thing as before, what we want to do is just set this so we've got enough control over it from here. We've got enough room to turn it up and down. So give this a little bit extra here. And I can then turn the booth level exactly where I need it. I've got heaps of room to move. So next up, let's take a look at how to hook up a turntable. So I've got an Audio Technica one here. And I'm going to basically plug this into the mixer so that we've got it on an extra channel that I don't have one of my CD players on. And of course we're limited on this particular mixer because only channels 1 and 4 have phono preamps in there. So just to explain that a little bit, when you use a turntable, it needs to have a different preamp to what any other device will use. And the reason is because of the way that records are pressed. So in a nutshell, basically a phono preamp is extremely high gain. So you need to plug your turntable into that, and most importantly, don't ever plug any line level gear into a phono input because you're most likely going to blow something up. So don't do that. All right, so we've got a cable coming out the back of the turntable, and you'll notice one difference to a normal line level cable. So we've still got our left and right RCA levels, but we've also got this little connector here, and this is to ground the turntable. And if you don't do this, you may find you get some noise on the signal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into input number 4. So I need to remove these little stoppers which stop you plugging things into the wrong input. So I'll just lift up the mixer so you can see we've got channel 4 here and we've got phono left and right in. So we're going to run in there just like normal, and then I'm going to connect this little ground cable to the mixer as well. So we just unscrew this, slot this in, and just screw it back down again. If you've got 2 turntables, you can use the same ground connector to connect both of them. So same as before, what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the turntable. We've got the mixer ready to go. All the levels are turned down, so nothing can go wrong. Master level's turned down, our booth is turned down, everything's ready to go. So now I'm just going to get the record playing and we're going to get some level. So one thing you'll notice is it's going to be pretty constant because we're using a Serato Scratch Live timecode record here. So I'll bring the level up, keep going until we hit around about that 0 mark, and that's pretty much perfect. Just like our CD player, our level's set. So that's our turntable set up, all ready to go. Alright, so we've pretty much showed you how to set your gear up. We're just going to recap for you now and give you a bit of a checklist. So very first thing we're going to do, when you've got your players set up, get your audio leads connected. This is going to be an analog lead like this, or a digital cable which will run out of the digital output of the player into the digital input of the mixer. So once we've got that, we've connected all the power cables, then we've run our XLR leads out of our master, out of our mixer, into the front of house speakers, which are the 2 KRK-10-3s that we've got set up here, or would be your PA system if you were in a club. Then what we've done is we've turned the mixer on, we've set all the levels to 0, we've got a track playing, and then what we're doing is we're bringing up the gain so that we hit about the 0 mark, if not 1 or 2 over, but no more. Worst thing you can do is redline or sit down here at 1 or 2 or 3 little green bars. So once you've done that, we've turned our speakers on, set them down to 0. We've got the levels coming up on our master by bringing up our faders and our master level, and again until we hit around about that 0 point, and then we've turned up the levels on our speakers. And then just to get our booth set up, which at home you probably wouldn't do, but if you're going to be playing in a larger venue you will have this. We've connected our booth speaker from the booth output of the mixer with a 1/4" jack into the speaker, and again we've gone and set our levels so that we've got plenty of control over the level of the booth from our mixer, and we don't really have to go and touch the speakers again for the rest of the night. So that's it, your mixer and your decks are set up and you're ready to have some fun. So if you want to see any more of the hardware I've showed you today, jump online at cosmic.com.au or come in and see us at Osborne Park or Cannington.